it is hard to not cut corners, I think, because financial obstacles are big obstacles. You can only do so much with the money you have, but like as hard as it can be sometimes, like just when we do stick to the plan we have and like, not compromise on the quality of the stuff, that's what shows.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R.
It's like we're avoiding the shark. Call it leather fetish, dude.
No, today, turboneck day?
I'll give you a kiss. You give me your number. That checked out a ton, dude. Tell me you felt. We're Americans. We're the ones that are descendants from the 1776 musket-bearing motherfuckers.
Welcome back to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. This is episode number 28. In this conversation, I interviewed Damien of the nu-metalcore band Diesect. We talk all about their formation, songwriting process, live shows, new EP, and much more. Let's dive in. Damien, thanks for joining me today. I'm stoked to have you on, brother.
No worries at all, man. Happy to be here.
So you're actually the first person from a band to reach out to me first, and I really appreciated that. I was already a casual fan of Diesect, and now I've been really paying a lot more attention because you guys' newest release is absolutely killer. So I just wanted to ask you about that. Like, how'd you come across my page?
I can't actually remember, man. I just remember seeing your name in, I think, either one of our comments on YouTube or Instagram or something. And then I think at one point I probably would have just clicked the profile until you did the podcast. And then coming up to the release and stuff, I thought, like, why don't we just reach out? I guess, because we didn't want to just wait around waiting for someone to ask us, So, yeah, man, I mean, that's just how it happened. Yeah. It's pretty organic,
Yeah, but I want to ask about growing up in South Africa and what was the metal scene like over there? And, like, did any concerts ever come through there?
I guess that was quite a while ago. Like, there wasn't really much going on, especially on, like, the more extreme side of metal and all that. There just really wasn't too much. It was super niche back home. Like, when I was growing up, like, having tattoos and being alternative or anything like that, that was kind of, like, not so much seen compared to like when I moved to Australia, and there's like way more of like a community for that kind of stuff. So it was very, very niche.
How did you get into heavier music then, if it wasn't really popular out there?
In grade 5, it would have been like, I think my brother started listening to all of my Valentine stuff, and he showed me them and like Escape the Fate, and then that kind of like started everything and like got me into guitar. And then, same year, like in grade 5, I was actually in the same class as Luke from Vulvodynia. We started like our own little mini band together because like I saw him like playing like a Ibanez guitar at like show and tell day. And I was like, dude, like we gotta link up. And then, like Luke was always into like heavier stuff than I was. Like when I was into Bullet, he was into Slipknot, and like I got into like Slipknot eventually, then he was already moving on to like Suicide Silence and stuff. So he was always just like getting me into the heavier stuff. Yeah, I think like once I found someone else that was my age, that was into that kind of music, I would just, I guess, would jam with him initially and then meet more people and stuff as like I got a bit older at home. And then I guess when we moved over here, so many doors opened up because there's just so much more of a community for it here,
Yeah. So talk to me about In the Hands of Captors and Enslaver. Those were your first bands. So what'd you do in those?
Yeah, damn. I played guitar. Like that was my first band. Still wrote lyrics back then. Probably was no good at it, to be honest. But I'd say bands, but it was one band. Like In the Hands of Captors was the first name, and we started like literally when I was like 15. So like that was like the year I moved to Australia. So I just like landed and tried to start a band straight away. Yeah, we kind of kept that going for 3 or 4 years. Literally pretty much just broke up when I finished high school, man. So it was just like, I guess like that first band experience, I mean? We played a couple of shows here and there, like did like an EP and stuff, but I'd say like, we were very new to things back then because we were so young, you know what I mean? Let's put it that way.
And then you took a long break from metal and you started doing solo work, and then you eventually found your way back to the heavier side of things, huh?
Yeah, thankfully, bro. Like, when Enslaver broke up, like I didn't really know what I was going to be doing musically, because for me, I was just like, I have to be doing something creative or musically in general in life. So like that was just a bit of a weird point for me, because that was like my everything for a while. And then around that time, like I found like Suicide Boys, Ghostman and stuff, and felt like really inspired by that style of music, because especially say like Ghostman is so heavily influenced by like metal and like extreme stuff like that, and then bringing it into like that rap space. And I guess it's kind of mixing two genres I already liked, you know. So then if I was like, damn, well, I mean, if I can do this by myself, that's even better, right? You know, I don't have to rely on like 4 other people. And then yeah, just grinded that for like 4 or 5 years, quite a while, and then was doing that for ages. And then at some point with that, man, like I guess I kind of just got a little bit over it, you know what I mean? Like I still like that kind of music and stuff, but like at some point, like I was just like missing playing guitar, because like in that period I just didn't play guitar anymore. At some point I grabbed a new guitar and I started playing again, just trying to get back to my roots in a way, I guess. And then our old guitarist, like we started playing guitar together, and then yeah, we're like, why don't we just start a band, man? And then here we are.
So how'd you come up with the names Cyanide, because that's your solo work, and then Diesect?
With Cyanide, like that one, I think that was just like me just trying to pick edgy names, to be honest, when I was like 19, you know what I mean? And then like with Diesect, like I actually was gonna like extend the Cyanide name out to Cyanide Diesect at one point, and I was like, that's probably too long. Yeah. And then when we were looking for a band name for Diesect, I was like, kind of like just came back to that. And then that also stemmed off this clothing brand I used to run called Dissection. And then that also like had kind of just stopped doing that and focused on other things. And then I guess when the band started, it kind of all just, I guess, made sense at that point to call it that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And so when you do your solo work, you have the beats by Prodbyplague. Tell me about him, because his work is great.
Oh man, Plague is a weapon. He's an insane producer. Yeah, I've worked with him like on a bunch of stuff, like Cyanide stuff, Diesect stuff, outside of that as well. And yeah, so like he's prod a lot of beats for me, but like in terms of the Cyanide stuff, I think there's only one song that's prod by him that's out, funny enough. Don't know how that works out that way. It's just like, I think we only ever released one of them, but we've worked on so much together. And then like, yeah, with the Cyanide stuff, I actually produced a lot of that myself, because I was producing beats and focusing on production a lot more back then. Yeah, but like Plague, I've worked on him, like obviously on like the Scarlet stuff we did, and even now the new Diesect stuff, and he does like all of our like live intro to our set, some of like the interludes between songs and stuff. And yeah, he's basically like a brother to me, man. So like we work very closely together still. So yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. I see you guys like sappy Instagram posts to each other.
We have the same birthday as well, funnily enough.
Yeah. And then talk to me about Xenochrist, because it's kind of funny. I actually was a fan of him, and then I saw that you guys were tagging each other on Instagram too and stuff, and lost my mind. The Scotty remix is like one of the craziest tracks ever, and Nighthawk too. Like that stuff is amazing.
Dude, massive shout out to Xenochrist, man. Like I think that dude is like hella talented, and like yeah, dude. Like, we actually had him on a show with us for our, I think it was the Different Kind of Alone release show back in November. But no, man, like Xenochrist is sick. We have like a song together with the Cyanide stuff. And like, yeah, I'm super keen to like work with him more in the future, man, because like he is just such a gun to work with, bro.
Do you think you'd ever have him on a Diesect track as a feature?
I think that'd be sick, man. It's definitely crossed my mind. Like, I definitely think we'll work with him in the future, because again, he's just like in Brisbane, which is not even an hour away. So like, he's come over to my house before and we just jam stuff, written stuff together. So like, I reckon it's definitely down the pipeline that we'll do something together, man.
That's cool. Yeah, I was going to ask about your influences. We got to talk about Sworn In, dude. Like the fact that you you were wearing that Death Card hoodie in the video, man, that was a good choice.
Cheers, dude. Like, shout out Sworn In, man, and shout out the Death Card hoodie as well, because that's actually like my second one, because like I lost my old one, bro, and I was like, damn, like I can't not have this hoodie, man. So I bought a new one, and it's like the shipping costs more than the hoodie, but it's like, fuck it, it's for the culture, right? You know what I mean? It's crazy with Sworn In, because like back when I was still learning like how to do vocals and stuff, and like I guess like, you know, when you learn vocals, you kind of practice the people you like and kind of see like what works for you. Like I still remember the day I tried practicing to Snake Eyes. And that was the first time my vocals ever felt like natural. Like, yeah, and that was the day I was like, maybe this is how I should sound. That's why I wear the hoodie in the video, and like, you know, obviously the way we sound too. Just want to give the most props and credit to Sworn In, man, because they were like a band such a long time ago, and I think like they really influenced this space that we're seeing now in such a big way. And like I feel like maybe people that weren't like into this style of music back then probably don't even know who they are sometimes, because again, it was quite a long time ago, and like I guess like the music space has changed quite a lot since then. So like you didn't want to like try to be like, nah, we weren't influenced by Swanning, because like fuck yeah, we are.
You're wearing your inspiration on your sleeve, literally, with that one. They really influenced the whole like nu-metalcore style. And so you have all these bands now like Alpha Wolf, Dealer, you guys, you know, coming up. And that was one of the other questions I wanted to ask, you know, because some of the hate I see online, you know, people will be like, oh, you guys sound too similar to Dealer or whatever. And so I want to ask like how you plan on setting yourself apart in the future. And, you know, obviously this new direction with the EP, you got some more melodic and atmospheric direction, which is kind of a response to that. But I just want to hear from you where you see yourself going in the future.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think like where I want to see us going is kind of just like leaning more into like the roots we have. Again, going back to like Xeno and like Prodbyplague and stuff. Like, you know, I think we're surrounded by like a lot of just like really talented musicians and stuff. And I feel like we haven't utilized the people like around us in the band enough, if that makes sense, because like we all collaborate together so much, but like it never kind of crosses over in a big way, you know what I mean? So like I'm just super keen, I guess, just work more closely with like our friends and stuff and just see what we can kind of come up with and just like break apart like our own sound and like, you know, just develop ourselves more, I'd say, man. Because like I think like when we wrote Mirror Image and stuff like that, we were just writing like, you know, we just bought like whammy pedals and shit, so we were like just like spazzing on those and like, you know, going crazy. And then like I guess like fast forward to now, I guess like, you know, you can hear like on the new EP, I think like the sound, I definitely would say it's evolved and it's changed up a fair bit. It's like not just like raw and angry or whatever. Like obviously there are songs like that, but like I just think it sounds more polished anyway. And I just really want to kind of build on that, you know, and kind of just become like our own identity in like a really definitive way.
Yeah, and so with that songwriting process, do you write any guitars for Diesect?
Yeah, man. So basically me and our old guitarist, like we were the main songwriters for the band. So like either he would write a full song by himself or I'd write a full song by myself, or we just get together and just write a song in a room together type thing. Because again, like going back to like the guitar thing, I've always just played guitar and I still see myself as a guitarist. So like funnily enough, actually, like when we started playing together to begin with, like I was the guitarist. And when it came down to us like being like, let's do it, like let's make a band, like I was like, oh, who are we going to get on vocals? And he was like, why don't you do it? And I was like, fair enough. And then fast forward to now, that's me, man. So yeah, that's kind of how that happened. But yeah, man, like definitely play a big part in the writing, and like I love doing it because like again, like I've just been playing forever now, and especially now as well, like going forward, like I'm super keen to just like really step up in terms of like the writing process in general, and just like level that up, really like kind of like dial in and see what we can kind of come up with, I reckon.
Now, for writing lyrics, do you have just a million notes in your phone? Is that how that goes?
Yeah, man. My notes looking real unhinged a lot of the time. I find myself just throughout the day just like procrastinating or just zoning out, and I'm just like thinking of like cool like lyrical themes or whatever, or just like when I can't sleep at night or anything like that. Basically, man, I'm just there like writing lyrics into my notes, and then like that will turn into like a song later on, or like a breakdown call out, like the call out in paralysis and stuff like that was sitting in my notes for so long. And then when it finally came down to like writing a song, I was like, yo, this would fit in this gap. And then there you go. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And what's that lyric again?
How many more nails could you fit in that coffin?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
Thank you, bro.
So let's talk about working with different producers. And obviously we got to talk about Lance Prenc, because he is just amazing and anything he touches turns to gold.
Yeah, man, he's a gun. Like we don't know him personally or anything because he lives in Melbourne. But yeah, from the get-go with the band, like my kind of outlook was like, yo, like if we're gonna do this, like let's go hard, like let's, you know, get mixed by like someone really, really good, right? And then like, yeah, we hit up Lance, and that's kind of how that started, and pretty much everything since then has been with him.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, he's worked with Alpha Wolf, Void of Vision, Polaris, Dark Matter, a bunch of others probably. Actually, yeah. And then also this band called Archive. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they released this one EP like 5 years ago. And I remember hearing the mix and I was like, this mix is crazy. And so I actually looked into it and it's Archive Sonder. And it was one of Lance Prence's like earliest mixes, I think. And I was like, I gotta like follow this guy on Instagram and like keep up with him because his sound is just so good. And it was funny. I actually met him when he came to Chain Reaction because I work at Chain Reaction in California. And so he was on tour with Alpha Wolf, Polaris, Invent Animate. And so he was like doing their live sound and I recognized him and I was like, dude, like I love your work, you know? And he's like, man, this is crazy. Like everybody's recognizing me. And I'm like, you're an amazing producer. So it was cool. I got like a photo with him, but it was kind of funny.
That's crazy, man. Across the world too.
Yeah, totally. And there's not a whole lot of music producers in this scene that people know by name, but there is a few. There's, Joey Sturgis, Will Putney, Lance Prince, and a few others. And they're big deals, man. They're awesome.
It's crazy. It's actually crazy, I think, nowadays as well, like how like much more I think people care about like the producers and stuff, which is like fucking awesome to see, because I think like back in the day, man, like people didn't really care too much about like having like a super solid mix, you know what I mean? It was kind of just like if it was listenable, it was cool. Whereas nowadays I think people care so much about that, which I think is very based, like, like I think I personally think it matters a lot. Like I can't really listen to something if it isn't mixed well, but it's super sick to seeing like producers and mixing engineers getting that credit now. It's like insane.
I agree. And that's one of the reasons I don't really listen to a whole lot of metal or heavier music that's like pre 2010. When I listen to like the old Korn or Slipknot and stuff, like I can appreciate it, but I'm like, dude, I just want like a heavier mix. And that's why all the new stuff now with the digital era and just the way things have progressed from like 2010 onwards is like really crazy just how much better it is.
100%, dude. You're very right. Like I'm the same, man. Because again, I was into Slipknot when I was a kid, and even going back now and listening to it, I'm just like, damn, man, like, this sounds thin, bro. You know what I mean? But like I'm talking about Slipknot here, it's just I just think it's come such a long way in terms of mixing and stuff, especially in the metal space. It's insane, like just how polished and big and all those things like metal can sound now. It's crazy, and it makes it so much harder to listen to the older stuff,
Yeah, we're spoiled now with all the bass drops.
Oh man, give me more bass drops,
I love it, and I invested in a subwoofer for my car, and it's just like, it's amazing.
I was thinking about doing the same thing, and just so I could hear like the carbon bass drops go off even harder.
So I want to ask if you guys have a label and kind of how you're navigating that whole thing, because it seems like you've done a lot of things kind of DIY from the start.
Yeah, man, no label. Like we're completely independent, and like we just do everything ourselves. And like I guess like our outlook on everything is like we just got to go hard, like I still don't think like we release as much music as like I would want to by any means. Like I just want to go as hard as possible, and like it is like obviously pretty like challenging, being like I guess independent, especially with how things are in the world at the moment. Like, it's really hard. It's expensive being in a band and stuff, but like all I ever want to do and like all we want to do is just go hard as hell and just be like, let's just make it happen any way we can. And like, that's why we followed up Mirror Image so quickly, because we were like, if we don't keep it going, like, people will probably just forget we exist, right? So yeah, it's been like real challenging, last, I guess, couple of years, like just to keep following things up like consistently. But like, I think that's like all we want to do is just stay consistent and just, like, get better each time. So like, literally while we are releasing this EP right now, we've already started on like, our next project, and like that was started ages ago. And this EP, for example, was meant to come out before Snake Eater, before Loose Ends, before Edcoa. And like, there was just setbacks, I guess, and stuff that stopped that from happening, and then songs getting swapped out and stuff like that. But like, I guess like our outlook was like this needs to be good, and we also need to keep present and active in like our space and stuff, so yeah.
Is that because the songs just kept having to be tweaked, or there just wasn't a direction for this EP? Like, what was the hold up with it?
So like, there was always a solid direction. I think the overall theme of the EPs always stayed the same, and like what it was meant to be about and mean and feel like, etc. It's just that I think like over time, like we evolve as musicians as well, like what we like changes, so then some songs got cut. Yeah, so I think it was just like obviously just like dealing with setbacks, dealing with changes that we just kind of had to roll with. Like that's kind of why it took so long. I guess like fun fact, man, like we wrote Carbon the same day we uploaded Bury You to DistroKid. So
wow.
Yeah, man, it's like been a long time coming, dude. So it's been really refreshing finally getting it out there. And like so as well, I guess because these songs feel so old to us in a way, it's super refreshing, like seeing people like receive them well. And I guess when you've been sitting on something for so long, you're not that excited about it so much anymore, but then seeing how people receive it, because it's obviously new to them, it's been amazing, man. Like, just like makes you like love those songs again, especially songs like Mortal Skin, for example. Like that was again written 2 years ago.
With the feature or without the feature 2 years ago?
Without the feature. So I guess that's also another thing. It's like as time went on, we added things to the song. It's a lot of like chopping and changing and stuff, and just like refining. But yeah, I'm super happy that we ended up actually doing the feature on that too. Because like I think like once we did that, like adding in the orchestras and the synth from Mystique, like it was just like, I remember hearing that for the first time and I was like, damn, it's like so weird hearing us like this, because I guess we've always just been like raw and heavy or whatever. So definitely, I think was such a sick touch that I'm happy we ended up doing, because she killed it. So shout out to her.
Right. And that kind of goes with what I was saying earlier. It's like you're bringing in a new dimension to your music, which is really exciting, you know, and you kind of need that. If you've been a band for a couple of years, it's like you don't want your sound to ever get stagnant. So it's cool that you're able to even remix and readjust some of these older tunes and breathe fresh life into them. I want to talk about the new EP, Shadows Follows, a little bit. It's cool that the first 2 tracks are just like really heavy, fast, aggressive, crazy, and then you know you kind of mentioned those last 2 tracks are more melodic, atmospheric, and pretty epic in a different way. But I wanted to ask, what is that like news clip vocal sample at the beginning of Paralysis? That was a really nice touch.
Thanks, dude. It was actually just a clip from a psychiatrist. Yeah, that was a clip that I was listening to like when I was researching stuff about like the theme of the song, and then like I went down the rabbit hole of like I've been watching like these big videos of psychiatrists talking about like different like symptoms, I guess, of NPD and that kind of thing. And then like at one point, I guess she said something or a few different things that I was like, oh, that could actually be like something fitting for this song, right? And then like, yeah, I grabbed that, chopped it up a bit, and then yeah, man, it just became what it is. So yeah. That's
super cool. I always love that when bands have like random, you know, vocal samples or different sound effects in there, completely outside of metalcore, but the 1975 does that all the time, and I love that on their first album. There'll be all these like random little sounds in there, and it just kind of builds out the world, and you kind of wonder as a fan like, oh, where did this sound effect or that little piece come from? But it just gives it a much more full experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think like exactly like what you just said, like I feel like it really just set the tone for the song from the get-go. Especially like obviously the day we dropped it, we like posted like those story posts that with the quote of what it's saying. So I feel like obviously if you saw that, or if you just actually caught it while it was saying it, it really is, I guess, just tells you from the get-go what the song is about.
So with being completely independent, how do you get booked on shows? And how have the shows been so far?
Shows have been amazing, man. We've had some really sick shows, our own shows as well. But in terms of getting booked for shows, and a lot of the time it would just be from like other bands in the area reaching out. And then I guess sometimes like as well, I guess people from other bands would find us online, like, and they might be interstate. And it kind of just links up because like, you know, the Brisbane scene is like pretty big, and then like it's the same in like the other cities in Australia. So people kind of just know people, and then I guess like as you keep going, people hear about you, and then like they make similar kind of music, and then like they'll reach out and you'll kind of just like talk a bit online, and then before you know it, you're doing something together. Like that's what happened with us with Atlas. We actually played a show with them in like February last year, and like we'd never met them before. We just got booked through like the promoter that was putting that tour on, and then we met there, and then we got along really well with them, and then they took us out on our first tour last September. And outside of that as well, like we've had like, I guess we've been booked by shows as well by like Destroy All Lines too, for quite a few big ones like Fit for a King and Era and stuff, which was crazy to even do because I was like listening to those bands since I was like 15. So we've had a few come through that way. And then outside of that, like we've actually just booked a lot of our own shows ourselves. This tour coming up that we're about to do for Shadows Follow, like we completely booked that ourselves. And that's just like our first time heading out of state on a tour basis as the headliner. Like we've toured a few times now, but like never as the headliner. So we've done a couple of shows headlining outside of the state, but never on like a tour basis. So I'm very excited to see how that goes. Yeah, man. Again, just really leaning into the DIY side of things. You know, we've kind of always just been like, we're not going to wait for an opportunity to come. We're just going to try to grab it ourselves and then see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. You got to create opportunities for yourself. Nobody's going to hand you your dreams.
100%, dude.
Do you have any best shows that come to mind?
I think one of our best ones was probably A Different Kind of Alone headliner in November. That was just insane. Like, I think like the first 3 headline shows we did, I think just the reception we got was just insane. It was just wild, man. Like, the crowd broke like 6 or 7 holes in the floor. Like, it was insane. And like, I remember even when we were playing, man, like one point people stopped pitting and stuff, and I was like getting in my feelings. So I was like, why aren't people moving, man? And then at the end of the show, I look at the floor and like bust it up. Like, there's holes in the floor. There's like a 2-meter drop underneath them as well. So you can imagine like it was pretty chaotic. I was like, true, like that's a bit gnarly. So I'd probably put those ones up there. And then the next one I'd say that comes to mind would probably be the sold out show we did with Atlas on their tour in Brisbane. Yeah, just the love in the room was like very crazy. That was the first time ever being on a show that like sold out, and we were main support on that tour. So I still remember a friend of mine was trying to buy tickets that day, and like he was like, yo, like, I can't get tickets, it says they sold out. And I'm like, they're tripping, like, oh man, like there must be a mistake. Like, there's no way the show sold out, right? You know, and then it did. So yeah, I got there that night, man, and it was just one of the craziest shows we played.
Did your friend make it in or not?
I think he did, man. Yeah, I think a few people made it in that like weren't meant to, because like it was definitely over capacity, I reckon, man.
And now you guys have enough material to really pick and choose what you want to play for like a headlining set, huh?
Yeah, man, for sure. Like, it's cool to have more songs out now, just so we can have more variety when we play, I reckon, man, because we've been playing these songs for, I guess, like 2 years now, you know, and then kind of slowly adding to like the set list and stuff.
So I was going to ask, what do you think the biggest obstacles you guys have faced as a band would be?
Probably just like financial obstacles we've had to like jump over has probably been like the biggest one, because like, again, like, you know, we always just try to go as hard as possible in terms of what we do and try not to cut any corners at all. So that's obviously, you know, in saying that, the more expensive route sometimes, and dealing with financial obstacles, and then either having to then push things back, hence like this EP taking so long to come out, and yeah, that kind of stuff, you know, that's kind of been the biggest obstacle. At the same time, I'd say it's a sort of kind of a blessing, so to speak, because I guess going through these obstacles or whatever, like we've jumped through some hoops to make things happen, and then that's just actually worked out really well.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, that was the biggest obstacle with trying to get this feature film that I directed out there. It was just the finances and like feeling like you're hitting all these roadblocks because you want to do it right. And so if you want to do it right, you have to pay for it or get really creative, you know? So I totally hear that.
100%. I think as well, like it is hard to not cut corners, I think, you know, because financial obstacles are big obstacles. You can only do so much with the money you have, you know, but like as hard as it can be, sometimes like just when we do stick to the plan we have and like, you know, not compromise on the quality of the stuff, that's what shows.
Yeah, it's like they say, limitation creates innovation. So that creativity comes through.
That's it, man, 100%.
I wanted to ask what's next in 2023, if you guys have any big plans coming up.
Obviously, the first thing would be this tour we're about to go on to, like, I guess, celebrate Shadows Follow coming out. And that'll be in, like, Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Then for the rest of the year, man, like, to be honest, we are just going to be focusing on writing the new stuff, build on and elevate what we've already got, and just like take it in like a new, refreshing direction. That's kind of the plans for the rest of the year. And then I guess just seeing whatever else kind of pops up or comes our way. But I guess like right now for us, the main focus is just taking this music we're writing and just like pushing it to the next level.
And do you think that next release would be another EP, or do you think it would be time for the full-length album, debut album?
Oh man, I'd love nothing more than to release an album, man. Straight up. You know, it's just hard with like the independent side of things and, you know, the financial side of things as well, because it's already, I guess, pretty expensive to mix an EP. So mixing 2 EPs at once essentially would be pretty gnarly, you know. But yeah, I'd love to work towards an album and stuff. I guess we're just going to have to kind of see what happens for us, I suppose. I guess we'll just play that one by ear and just like write as much music as possible and see where we're at when the time comes, I guess. I think like as well, I'd love to just build our like audience a bit more before we do that. And yeah, I guess just like get around more, I suppose. We'd obviously love to come over to the States, and like we see a lot of people in our comments all the time saying to come to the States. I think that would definitely be on the cards, probably not in like the next year or so, but eventually for sure. And like I think just right now the main focus, I think outside of like writing new music, is just touring and, you know, getting around Australia and I guess just building that audience, man.
Yes, dude. Well, when you guys do come to the States, I'll be at the show, and I'm really stoked for that whenever that does happen.
Oh, yeah, man. I'll definitely be DMing you as soon as we know.
So the last question I want to ask is kind of a two-parter, but I wanted to ask if there's a message of the band, you know, maybe one thing people could take away from listening to your music, or if you had a favorite lyric that you really stand behind.
Oof, that's a hard one. But I think in terms of like the message of the band, man, like, you know, obviously like the lyrics I write and stuff like that, they're quite like raw and delve a lot into like the mental health side of things, you know, and I feel like someone can listen to our music and kind of feel a bit better, or they can kind of feel like someone else has gone through something similar or anything like along those lines. Like that to me would be, I guess, mission accomplished in terms of the band, you know, because I think that's more valuable than any tour we could ever do or any like label we could ever sign with or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, I think like that emotional like connection people can have and that community that they can have from our music is just invaluable, you know what I mean?
And so where can people connect with you?
I think the best place is definitely our Instagram. I think like outside of that too, just like DMing us personally, to be honest, dude. Like I think like I speak for everyone here. Like, you know, we love talking to people that listen to our music and stuff because that means like the world to us, and it's crazy to us that people even want to listen to our music, you know? So, I mean, people say this all the time, but like I really mean it, man. Like we're nothing without the people that listen to us, you know? So like shout out to every person who's checked out the EP or checked us out or bought some merch or listened to us, all of that, man, because we really mean that.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to welcome any new listeners to the podcast and let you know that there's lots more band interviews coming soon, as well as my regularly scheduled comedy episodes. So be sure to subscribe and follow me on Instagram at Spencer Whiteout to stay up to date. If you're feeling generous, take 5 seconds and leave a review. 5 stars is a power play. Also, I mentioned I'm a filmmaker, and if you'd like to check out my work, you can look up my coming-of-age comedy drama, Space Waves, on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. As always, stay tuned, stay hyped. That's a wrap.
And that's it.